thank you for staying with Daybreak. I'll sample some of your views in just a bit. Keep them coming. And Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Daybreak. Newton, you still had a conversation on this two-horse race thing because it's 3 against 1. They finally say it is a two-horse race. You are saying it is an open race.
The reason why I'm saying it's an open race, Trevor, it's just simple. And you know, in this country, we have been meant to perceive that the way things are presented is the way they are. That is not the fact. And as you see today, no presidential candidate has given their running mate. True or false? True. And I'm telling my sisters here, this is not a two-horse race. Because one, we have other candidates. And I just want to clarify this. My presidential candidate is not in Oka, as my panelists are trying to purport, Trevor. That is a fact that should go on record. And as we said from the word go, we are not going to play second fiddle to anybody. And on the fact of us going all the way to the ballot, I am telling Kenyans, this race is fully open. Tomorrow, the 2 horses that my colleagues here are mentioning, what if one horse gets blind? What happens? Will we have now a one-horse race?
Disability is not inability.
But what I'm saying is, what I'm saying is, let us give every leader an opportunity to present whatever they can present to this country. Let us not be limited to 2. Because this country is big, and you need leaders from all corners of this country. We need leaders to be elected based on character, based on their qualities. Because integrity should be the integral part of us electing a leader. So are we just being given, out of 47 million, you want to tell us that we only have 2 candidates who can be the presidents, or 2 horses rather, as you are purporting? We should not give Kenyans that rhetoric. We should tell Kenyans, look, present these leaders. We should have intellectual debates on all these presidential candidates, because if we start having a fixed mind that we can only elect a president from these particular 2, then as a country we are losing it. And as young people we are losing it. I'm shocked to hear my fellow young people say that it is a 2-horse race. And amongst the 2, there's no youth. You get me, Trevor? We need to make it open, so that we don't give young people a fixed mentality that lazima uchague William, ama lazima uchague Raila, ama lazima uchague Kalonzo, ama lazima uchague Justin. No, we want to make it an open and based on the qualities of our leaders. Yeah. Because the moment we focus ourselves on 2 leaders only, we lose a lot. Because there is something that this leader can bring, and there's another idea that this other person can bring. We have had these 2 horses that you're referring to. I don't know who they are, but I think maybe the 2 horses are Justin Muturi and Raila Amolo Odinga. So when you say the 2 horses, let us give Kenyans an opportunity, Trevor. Let us honestly give Kenyans an opportunity and options to select or to elect from different. When we restrict, you know, when we restrict, we look at Raila, who has tried to contest for 30 years, since I was born, in 1990s. You get? And then we have William Samoei Ruto on the other end, who has been in the political field. He has done completely nothing. He just does rhetorics. And then we are giving Kenyans those 2 options to select from. Let us stop the joke, honestly.
Irene, you're an MCA yourself. How do we ensure that young people then now start voting based on ideology rather than personalities?
Trevor, the easiest way to do this is by civic education in a language they understand. Because young people, whether we like it or not, are on social media a lot. They don't buy newspapers anymore. They don't read news. They get all their news, all their information on social media. And for me, that is a space where I would go to. That is a space where even now, as we are trying to ensure that the young people, the 6 million young people who have not been able to register as voters, are actually registering, because they keep asking you, give me a reason why I should register in the first place, why? And you have to show it to them clearly that this country needs you. This country needs you to make a decision, because if you don't wake up that morning and go and cast your vote, then you're part of the problem. So it has to be in black and white to them. You have to continue drumming in the message to them in black and white, and as I say, in a language that they understand. You can't go and tell them about things that happened years ago when they were not even born, they were not even aware, they don't even know what happened then. My son asks me all the time, who is Moi? Why were people celebrating? He doesn't understand. But you've got to make them understand that this country is about you, that the decisions that are going to be made are about you, because you make the majority of who are the people in this country. Yeah, so the message has to go down. It has to be in black and white. Okay. Otherwise, you lose them.
Angel, is that where the problem is? Communication? Because I've seen a lot of attempts at civic education, but we still just, when the rubber meets the road, Kenyans are still the same Kenyans, including the young people themselves. In fact, someone best described it and told me that the youth do not exist as a voting bloc.
Mm-hmm. Well, Trevor, many people have a lot of things to say about the youth, because it's quite a giant in the room that we're all trying to cut into small pieces. So that is their version of the story. But I think that young people, for them to know the seriousness that is politics, is that they need to get themselves involved. They need to get engaged, even right from their community leadership. They need to understand. Right now, my sister, who is 22 years old, does not know what is post-election. What was the 2000 post-election violence? I mean, how old was she when we were having that to go with? But now, moving forward, you see that until you have a classmate who was affected by the clashes, that's when you realize that, okay, there is politics, there is leadership, and we need to rethink it. So we don't have to get to that point so that we can realize that we need to get engaged and that we need to get involved. Now we have the power of social media, we have the power of digital connections, and we can be able to pass information on politics, on memes and conversations. I mean, who has not heard Linturi's speech that he made the other day that has been trending all over? Who has not seen? I mean, there are these things we do on social media that make it quite exciting to even look at politics in whatever aspect. So young people need to be engaged. And on that point, Trevor, I also sit in the advisory board of the National Youth Council, and we are going to have our National Youth Council elections in the coming months. And so I would urge young people to take advantage of such opportunities to be able to build their capacity for leadership. Because at the end of the day, you'll only understand a bill when you can read it properly and analyze it. You need to have, when we're talking about political parties and the coalition bill, they're debating about ideologies, what is an ideology, what is not. For you to even understand that, you need to be able to understand that space altogether, so that you can know where your leaders are coming from, where they are going to, and you can even influence where you want them to go, because at the end of the day, we are the ones who decide. We've been seeing memes all over on social media, leaders saying that tunasikiza ground, yeah? Ground ni sisi. So kama sisi, if we do not have that experience or that understanding of what leadership and politics is, then we will really be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah. Jerry, and I know you mentioned Kia trying to ensure that people are involved, but is that all that it takes? Because I see there's also a conversation. Bobo Wino says the youth are political jokers because they depend on political bigwigs, thanks to Newton, because they haven't come up with their own party to push one of their own. That was a direct tweet. But now, that's the thing. Do we need to come up with a party that is just purely run by the youth, and then we know that this is the party we're going with?
Trevor, perhaps on whether the youth can come up with a political party and maybe push one of their own for maybe presidential candidacy or other seats, that is yet to be seen. And we have had discussions on whether the youth can first vote as one bloc, because we first need to agree as a young people that this is a common ground. Despite the differences we might have, we have common ground, and then we can move on from there. So before we even discuss about a party, can we vote as a bloc? Are we going to have a party that is only being supported by a section of the youth, maybe from a particular, region? So before we have discussions on a party, let us first think about whether the youth can vote as a bloc. And once we agree on the issues that face us as young people, and agree that this is what we want, and we can at least find common ground and work towards that, I think then that is achievable. I've spoken about Kirinyaga Youth Alliance before, and I am very proud of the young people of Kirinyaga County, because we have different organizations. We have Kirinyaga Youth Alliance, which I'm a co-founder of. We have VKV, we have Queer, and they have actually decided to support young people who are vying for positions in Kirinyaga County, which is a step that we need to see all young people taking.
Okay.
And as regards the communication disconnect, there is a communication disconnect between delivering the message to the young people. The way you deliver a message to a millennial is not the same way you're going to deliver the message to a Gen Z. They will not understand, they will not relate, okay? So I think at the end of the day, we also need to involve the young people. Let the young people tell other young people why they should vote. Don't give me someone who's maybe a boomer telling a young person, a Gen Z, why they should vote. They will not, they cannot relate to that. It's a very different time right now, and we have to understand that the world has changed, the worldview of the young people, the approach that we need to take. Social media has taken over the delivery of the message. If you're going to package it for the young people, let us package it in a way that they understand and in a way that they're able to digest that information and actually now understand that it is a risk not to vote in the general election.
All right. Even the term boomer itself is only understood by young people. This is a direct tweet to you from Bobo Wina, actually, who is saying that the youth are political jokers because they depend on political bigwigs thanks to Newton, because they haven't come up with their own party to push one of their own.
Something just to tell Bobo Wino is
Bob. Yes.
Bobo Wino.
Yes.
Just to tell him is this, as a young person, you need to have a mentor. And myself being in Democratic Party, it's not just because it's not a youthful party. It's a party with experience. And as a young person, you cannot jump from here and there, just trying to nurture yourself. You can't nurture yourself. As a young person who is interested in politics, you need to get mentorship. And that is why in Democratic Party, we have an intergenerational dialogue between the wise old guys and the young Democrats like myself, who are ready to perceive things the way they are. Because, Trevor, I refer it was the 70% members club, because the youth make the 70% of this country. And from that angle, in this country, we have seen that young leaders or the youth, they try to engage in politics, provided that it entails one's face being painted, carrying scandalous placards, and doing the movements, instead of being involved in the politics of the party. Because there's no way, as young people, we are going to vote as a bloc if we are not if we don't join these political parties, because that is where decisions are made. Look at Jubilee, look at ODM, look at our party, Democratic Party. The decisions are made at the party level. But what do young people do? They are so quick to be called on protests, and those are sideshows. Those are purely sideshows. Those are not areas where we are going to articulate our issues as young people. Yeah. We should emulate the European youth leaders, who, instead of carrying those placards on the roads, they are participating. Yeah. They are providing the alternative leadership, because young people are passionate. Okay. And when they build this passion towards politics, we end up participating better and providing our solutions to our own problems, because, as I said, we are the 70% members club. Yeah. And without it, I don't think if young leaders can really participate, we'll just make, and I'll shock you, Trevor, in 2022, we'll have a lot of voter apathy from the young people. Because one, they are not interested in going to get the registration. They are not interested in going to be registered as voters. And you see, and I said earlier, young people have been meant to believe that the only point they make a decision is during voting. Look at all the presidential candidates. What are they saying? They're saying, hey, go take your voter's card and come and register. For what? Because young people have ended up not trusting these institutions. And we need, as a country, to build trust and confidence in these political parties, in our government, so that when the days come, we have a country that is great. Yeah. And I'll make reference to the young leaders who have been in this country. Mwai Kibaki, he got into leadership at a very youthful age. Look at the Tomboyas, the Martin Shikukus of this world. And currently, we have the Oceanis of this world. Look at what Oceania is doing. Exemplary work. And in future, we are guaranteed that as a country, we'll be at a safe place.
Yeah.
Because we have young people who are being given real opportunities, not just rhetoric questions of dishing out money to make them do some particular activity.
So you don't agree with Bob's approach that young people should just form their own party?
No, 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 no. You can't form your own party. It's like telling your children, go and start your own home. It's not possible. You need to train them. You get me?
Right.
That is why you train them through education. When they get of age now, you tell them, hey, you can take over my space. Okay. But you can't just give birth to a child, and then you tell this child, go form your home on the other end.
You know, I like the fact that Newton is actually slowly agreeing with most of the things that we're saying. Yeah, because we belong to political parties that are led by these same wise people that you're talking about, and these wise people are giving us spaces. For instance, in ODM, I mean, ODM's Secretary General, National Secretary General, is a young person. Myself here, I'm the national chairperson of Daughters of Raila, and I get to sit at the platforms for decision-making where the party is involved, where Azimio is involved. Angel here is our SG. There are so many young people, and I don't agree that young people are not involved in politics in a way that is different. My experience for the last few months has been seeing young people coming up with very strong lobby groups across the country. Daughters of the Mountain, Daughters of Kenya, Undugu, Pamoja, you know, that sort of thing. And they want to come to the table and get involved in what is going on, the decision-making table. We have a group called the National Youth Leaders that is made up of all leaders who come from different lobby groups, coming and sitting together and having discussions about this country. So it's no longer about young people being the people that apply that mixture of paste of ungangano and water and putting posters up there. These young people are getting involved in conversation, and they're asking for their seat at the table. And that is the direction that we should all be taking. If you don't ask for your seat at the table, no one will give it to you. No one will come to your home and tell you, Trevor, do you want to be so and so? Nobody will do that. You've got to go out there and seek to be part of the decision making. And young people are doing this over and over and over again. And yes, I agree with Newton that we do have these established political parties that are led by the senior politicians, and we are learning from them. We are learning from them, and we are hungry to get into that top space that they are in. And we're doing what is called a crash course, so to speak, so that by the time we are of age, and not necessarily too old, we are able to be at that top level. Because you already have people who have been representatives at that level, and they've demonstrated that they can actually come up with policies, make decisions that are of good standing. In the NEB, the National Election Board for ODM, we have very young people. We have Commissioner Sinte, a lawyer who is a very young woman who sits at the decision-making table that is going to be very instrumental in deciding who gets what seats across the country and leading that process. And they've managed to come up with a very revolutionized process that the party is going to adapt. And that is thanks to these young people who are sitting at these tables. Okay,
let's bring up what you're saying on Twitter. A lot of feedback is coming through. Let's sneak in some of them at Trevor Mbiji at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Daybreak. Let's bring up the first one. See what you're saying here. Bobo Tieno already, we've gone through that one as well. Let's see. Boniface Mwabora. Boniface Mwabora says, no open race here. It's a two-horse race. Actually, it's clear that it's either Ruto or Raila will be the president. And maybe, if I may ask, what is the role of youth in Kenyan politics? Okay, that's a good question. We'll ask the panelists right here. Role of the youth in Kenyan politics. Role of the youth there. And then F. Osiro says, recently, we launched Kabila La Vijana movement. And I tell you, there's still a lot of blocks on the path of youth emancipation. Getting media attention and a non-political event, especially when you're a youth, is an uphill task. F0, we are right here. Send me, let us know where you are, and then send an invite, and we'll always show up. I mean, you can even come to the show on Friday if you like. DM me, and we'll get you here to speak about that as well. Aleki says, youth, we are only important during election period. After election, we are ignored, neglected, and oppressed. Let's not allow the same script. We are not voting machines. We are humans who demand and deserve dignity and respect. Let's arm ourselves with votes, okay? Let's see what else you say here. Kevin Owuoro says the young people have not been showing interest in registering as new voters. Counting on that block as an aspirant or candidate may not be of any help. They are only active on social media, okay? Chalo Woodrose says youth should fight for their own political space. Leadership is not given but earned. Raila Odinga earned his own political space when he was a youth and didn't depend on his father Jaramogi. Kenyans will vote a determined leader based on ideologies but not age. Okay? Okelo Mwalimu says the problem of electing youthful legislators is once elected, they abandon their pledges, especially to the youthful electorate, avail themselves for hire to big boys at a small fee and disappear from their constituencies, only to resurrect a few months to the next election. Right? So a very strong analysis there. Jenga Wakungu says we have talked about the issues of youth leadership, voting power, and their commitment to politics long enough. Why must they wait for others to package things for them? Youth should come out, set their standard, and make the move. Okay? Fred Olwach says youth voting as a bloc is possible, but leadership is not a core act in their heart. Thus, diversion of their vision is there. Okay? Uko Robert Jones says leadership in any country or even corporate requires a blend of young, energetic minds and old, experienced folks. As youth, we cannot live in a bubble and begin acting like we have to do away with the elderly. Youth need mentorship. Let's go back to the first question there. There was a question of the role of the youth in politics. And I'll start with you on this one, Angel. What is really the role of the youth in politics?
All right, let me connect that with that question on political parties, which I really wanted to put out my voice, and it's on the registration process for a political party. I think we are all members of political parties that we are on this discussion. And if you check the process, you need to register a political party with 250,000 Kenya shillings first before you're even now considered to be ambitious enough to want a political party. And then you're also required to provide that you have representation in at least 20 counties across the country. Offices, physical offices that can be identified by the registrar of political parties. And then after all that and all that, again, the national intelligence needs to approve you and gazette you, and all that process is quite tedious. I think once we are done with pushing for presidential elections, I think the other amendment bills should be on political parties, because if you're talking about a democracy in this country, then we need to have parties where we can register. I mean, if we need 250,000, how much of that do we need today to register a political party and put up a candidate so that Newton can also have a youth candidate on the presidential ticket? So again, one thing on what is the role of the youth, I mean, we've had, which has been very cumulative across the years. I mean, we've seen what Uhuru Kenyatta has done with appointments for young people, and that's something I celebrate. And he's celebrated for that across the world, because different governments have been really trying to put youth on the decision-making table, and Uhuru Kenyatta has really tried to make those steps towards that, and we are crediting him for that, for giving those young CSs who are now ambitious enough to go and run for their own spaces in their own counties is a great platform, and we need those platforms. I don't think that's something that we should look down on. I mean, even my appointment as a director in the National Youth Council Advisory Board, I mean, it is an entire youthful board. I mean, we went one time for an orientation, and in the Kenya School of Government, and one of our teachers was asking, I mean, what kind of board is this with under 35 people? That has never been witnessed in the country, and that is something Uhuru Kenyatta's government together with CS Musheru have done, and this is something that we really need to celebrate, because now the other presidential candidates that are coming in, we are asking them, what number of CSs are we going to have as youth? And Newton, you are telling me that you want to see at least 60%, whoever is president, 60% at least are young people who are running this country, and those are the things that we want to see. And now that experience that I even get in sitting at an advisory board that is anchored in government is to see the many loopholes that we have. Like when we talk about having a youth commission, this is something that is very important. When you have a youth commission, you have money straight coming from Treasury to a youth commission. When it is the way it is, when it is a youth affairs department being taken all over, that means it does not have really a structured budget. And that is all we have in the whole governance system. And we need to know that whoever is coming in to tell us that they want to become president, they need to tell us exactly what are they doing for the youth. Is the Youth Commission a solution? Yes, it is, because from where I sit, I can see that decisions are properly made when an entity is independent. And those are the things that we must take up as young people, as leaders. That is our role, to talk about these things, because we know and we understand. We're in these spaces, so we understand what is good and what is not. We understand what is relevant and what is irrelevant. Again, the other thing I would like to ask young people and young leaders from across the country is to really push visionary leaders. I mean, you can only go as far as your vision takes you. One of my favorite global leaders is this Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid of the ruler in Dubai. His country, or his emirate, has gone as far as he could see. I mean, look at the country. It is a global leader now. Not just about oil, it's about becoming a tourism hub. They are not even shedding off their religious ties so that they can accommodate the rest of the world and be able to have a fruitful international market centered and headquartered there. Yeah. That's something Kenya can do. Africa is really open to that. Okay. And if we can be able to shed all these aspects, your leader will only go as far as they can see. If their vision is a wheelbarrow, that is as far as where they will go. So let us really not lose track of what we want for this country, because if I take wheelbarrownomics to COMESA, I will be impeached at exactly 3 a.m. in the morning, because 21 member states of the common market of the Eastern and Southern Africa will not take that nonsense. So let us think deeply and let us vote wisely. All right,
Jerry, the question was, what is the role of the youth in politics?
I'm just laughing at the wheelbarrow comment. I think that is symbolic. No one is going to be dishing out wheelbarrows come after the elections. And we are all educated, even the members of the UDA party. And the young people of UDA are all educated. So I don't believe, or I don't think anyone is going to be dishing out wheelbarrows.
Do you subscribe to the UDA party? It's good to just declare it right here. So you see, Newton has declared. So are you saying now that the Kirinyaga Youth Alliance is allied to UDA?
I cannot speak on behalf of Kirinyaga Youth Alliance because I am a co-founder. So I cannot speak on behalf of all the other co-founders, but I can speak on my behalf. I am allied to UDA party, and I am also a member of the Young Lawyers Brigade, which is under UDA, and I believe that the Hustler Nation is a future that we want.
Why?
Now, to your question,
no, let's go there. Let's just delve in, because
I remember
Angel brought in the issue of the wheelbarrownomics, and you said that is symbolic. Nobody's giving any wheelbarrows. Set the record straight. Why is this the future?
It is the future because I believe my brother said that we don't have a youth who's vying for presidency, right? But we do have a youthful person who's vying for presidency. The deputy president just turned 55, I believe. And at the end of the day, we want someone who's close to the youth, who can relate to the feel of how it is to be a youth, and who is able to communicate and to decipher what the youth want. Because at the end of the day, like I said it's all about the delivery. And if you tell a boomer to talk to a Gen Z, they cannot relate at all. But we have a youthful president, though not a youth. They can very well relate and be able to articulate the issues for the young people of this nation.
Okay.
Now, to your question, the position of youth in this country has been discussed before many times. And I believe that the people of this country, the young people, they have a roadmap of where they want to go, but they're lacking the drivers. And that is where the UDA party comes in. We have the driver who is going to ensure that young people of this nation are well looked after and their interests are catered for. Because at the end of the day, and I believe we can all agree here, it is all about a visionary leader. It is all about, is this person going to drive the interests of young people of this nation? Can they articulate the issues? Do they know what the young people want? Or are they from, younger generations and they cannot relate to the young voter? And young people are getting involved. They're not sitting around. And like I've said, we have the Young Lawyers Brigade. It is an integral part of the UDA party. And we are going to be playing a key role in the nominations and, running up to the elections. So I believe the young people are taking up positions, and you can't just sit around and wait for opposition to come and find you.
Okay.
And I agree with the tweet that said that, Raila Odinga fought for his position as a youthful person of this country. And that is why, even if we do not have the requisite resources and we have all these hurdles that we have on our path, we have to put ourselves out there. We have to come out. That's why I said I'm vying for the position of women rep in Kirinyaga County, so that I can put myself out here and tell the young people, this is the way, you know, we can do it. Okay. We can make it. We might have issues, but we can make it.
Okay. Newton, this is the season for political promises.
Yes.
And you've heard from different places the bottom up. Mnataka ianzie hapa bottom alafu kuja hapa. You've had that whole loose up.
Yes.
And then there's the 50 billion that has been put aside for that. He says he will do that. Then on the Azimio side, there's the 6,000 shilling social welfare. Do you believe any of these promises that you hear from these leaders as a young person? And should the young people believe them?
Trevor, from where I sit, there's this saying that they say to get anything done in politics, one needs a theory of change.
A theory of change?
Yes.
Whether it's practical at the end is irrelevant.
Yes. You need the theory first,
yeah.
And then when you envision this thing, is then whatever culminates. We have been subjected to a lot of rhetorical promises in this country. Now, an example is like the UDA presidential candidate. The other day, he said he's giving 1 million, 2 million, 3 million. Now, when he was attacked on that, he has now shifted again to promise young Kenyans in billions now. He's promising now in billions. And these billions is not something that is in his bank account. It's not a signatory that is going just to withdraw and give it to the young people. Young people don't need that. And that is why, if you look at all the presidential candidates, there are some who have promised heaven, things that they cannot deliver, things that they're not in their control. But if you look at others, they are promising realistic things. And as I said, we have the 70% members club of young people. And Trevor, you also interviewed our presidential candidate in Democratic Party. And he himself, he's on record stating that he's going to give the young people 70% of his government. That is something that is within his control. It is something that he can deliver. But when you hear promises of lies, blunted lies, in our platforms talking to us about, oh, I'll give you this, I'll give you this. Youth don't want to be given. Those are politics of handouts, Trevor. To say the least, that is politics of handouts, whereby you promise young people money, goodies, and all that. No, as young people, we need opportunities, Trevor. You give me an opportunity, I'll thrive. Yeah. The young people who have been given those opportunities, and young ladies here who are exceptional in their profession, and when they are given these opportunities, they are shining. And you can even witness with your own eyes, they are shining, Trevor. The second thing, I'd like to talk about the guy who asked about the role of the youth in Kenyan politics. The role of youth in Kenyan politics is that one thing that is very clear in my mind, we need to move away from forming these movements here and there. I don't know, Kirinyaga Youth Movement, I don't know. We need to desist from those particular movements and join these political parties. You get me? Discuss ideologies. Discuss ideas that are substantive in our society, not just hold placards. And you see, Kenya, we are very good at it. And if you look at Nigeria, if you look at the European side, young people are doing things differently, not the way things used to be done in the past. And that is where now the change comes in. We need to shape these things. And that is why I go back to the issue of two-horse race. And I've heard guys saying here, Trevor, as a country, honestly, I beg my fellow young people, let us not be subjected to nonsensical thinking of we have a two-horse race. Honestly, that is kind of, for lack of a better word, that is stupid thinking. Because we are being subjected to two people. It's like being given a right or wrong answer. And none of them is right. All of them are wrong. And then you're telling us as Kenyans, these are the options that we have. These are the only two options that we have. No, let us go to politics of ideologies, politics of leadership, bold leadership, people who think best for this country, not just people who bring orderliness, carelessness around. And I revisit the comment that was made by, I don't know if he's supposed to be called our Honorable, Mithika Linturi in Uasin Gishu. And then the presidential candidate of that particular person comes again to apologize on behalf, and yet these remarks were being made in front of his face. You get me? And those are the leaders that, as a country, we want to trust ourselves in. I don't believe in that. And then I want to also comment on something about the opinion polls. You know, Trevor, these opinion polls in this country are never scientific. Honestly, they are never scientific. We have had history. In 2002, as they are saying about two-horse race, Raila was going to vie, but at the end of the day, what did he say? Kibaki to? Because he realized he does not have the capacity at that time more than Mwai Kibaki. And Mwai Kibaki became the president. So when we are talking about fixing our minds to the two-horse race through the polls and all those things, me, I don't believe in those, because even in as early as 2012, 2013 elections, Uhuru was nowhere on the polls that were being published left, right, and center. But who is the president? He came out and led. We are experiencing voter apathy because people are feeling like, okay, because it is a two-horse race, maybe from this side and this side, other Kenyans will not come in and vote to decide the best person for this country. And we are saying this, it is very short and clear. As young people, and me, I'm addressing young people because one thing about us, we have been on the menu for much too long. And we need to be at the table. And I agree with my sisters. But as we do that, let us not subject Kenyans to this nonsense of two-horse race. Okay. It is not a two-horse race. And that one I'll say here. And Trevor, no, it is not. Honestly, it is not. It is not. Let us say it is a two-issue-based race, not a two-horse race. You get me? Right. Let us say we are voting with integrity, a person who has integrity, someone who has prowess in his leadership. But let us not say we are voting for two individuals or from two individuals. Let us have a space.
Let's bring in Irene on this. Irene, do you believe all these promises that you hear as a young person? And you know the way our situation is, our economy, the way it is, and you've had these promises way before. Some people have been in government as well. They didn't implement them now, but now all of a sudden they can, all of a sudden. Do you believe this promises, or is it just a season of political promises and empty rhetoric?
Trevor, it depends on where the promises are coming from and what is the record track of this particular individual who is giving the promises. Just before the 2017 election, when Jubilee was sharing their manifesto, and I remember very well that the person who stood in front of Kenyans to give the manifesto of Jubilee was once William Samoei Arap Ruto. Deliverables on those promises, zero, including the laptops. And we have children who are in class 8 right now who are promised laptops when they were joining from class 1, and that has never happened. The problem I have with William Ruto, and the problem I have with people who support him with the tag that Wakili here is saying about him being able to relate to youth because his age is closer to youth, is that number one, it is never a factor of age. It is a factor of understanding the needs of this particular demography. The bottoms-up campaign, and we have been, Ruto has been part of a government, and I know Angel will confirm this, that provides Uwezo funds, all these sort of funds that help young people and women as well to be able to start businesses and do what they can do. That is already bottoms up. Kenya and Singapore back in 1960 were at the same space. We were at par. But right now, in Singapore, they're talking about artificial intelligence. That is what they're selling to their young people.
Yes.
We have someone who is telling us to think about mediocre things, like bottom up. Sometimes it's about hustler and that sort of thing. And it really disturbs me that even in the hustler nation, you have young people who are educated and they allow themselves to be bought into this kind of narrative. While on the other hand, my presidential candidate is telling the young people, he's come up with a 10-point policy for young people and is giving them an environment that is enabling them to prosper in what they're doing. if someone tells you that for 7 years, I will give you a loan and you don't have to pay for 7 years, I will give you capital so that you're able to do business and become an employer, that is an enabling environment, because youth and the world is very dynamic. Things change. Nokia 3310 used to be the big deal back then. Right now, there are all sorts of arrays of different things. The environment keeps evolving. So what you need as a young person is someone who gives you a platform to be innovative. Yeah. A young person who is on TikTok and makes thousands of money, and it's very sad to see people like Aziad saying they're being bullied, and that is one of the sources of income where they're making a lot of money. If TikTok, if social media is where I can make my money, and I have a presidential candidate who tells me, I will give you an enabling environment, I will give you capital to ensure that in that environment where you prosper, that you're able to become even better, you're able to become an employer, because let's face it, we don't have enough jobs for the number of youths that we have. We are 70%, as you say, the 70% club. We don't have enough jobs. Right now, we need to be in a space where we are encouraging young people to be business owners, to be employers of other young people or even the older people. Yeah. So for me, it's about a leader who is not telling me that Kenya should be comfortable being average, being mediocre, but that Kenya can actually fast track and run and get to the level where countries like Singapore, like China, like the US, like Europe are at, because we have brains that are at that capacity. We have some very serious brains. Okay. Angel will tell you, every time she gets an opportunity to go out there, when I was in Miss President, we got an opportunity to go to the European Parliament, and those guys were shocked that young Kenyan women have this magnanimous brains that can come up with fantastic policies. So let's not play low. Okay. Let's not allow ourselves to elect candidates who play low, who are accommodating and allowing people in their teams to talk about madoadoa in this day and age. Okay. We shouldn't be in that space at all.
All right, Jerry, I'll give you a chance to respond because this is a direct attack.
I am itching to respond to all that my colleagues have raised. First of all, I believe that the Jubilee Party was a party we know the leaders were, and it is known by the public. And the deputy president was reading a manifesto, not his manifesto, the Jubilee Party manifesto. So if somebody claims that the deputy president lied to Kenyans, they should also be able to take the bargain of their inputs and shoulder the blame equally. In regard to the bottom-up economic model, it has been discussed, it has been torn apart, we have seen memes all over social media about it, and it is purely about revigorating the economy from the bottom up. It is about ensuring that the SMEs, you know, the medium traders, the mamambogas, like our party leader has said on numerous occasions, that they are supported, that we support free trade, that the barriers that are there to trade for the people who are below, as far as regards the economic classes, that the barriers are removed and those people are supported to be able to ensure that there's a robust economy. Another thing I'd like to respond on is the issue of the remarks that the senator made. Let us not belabor the point, Trevor. You know, it has been discussed and it has been said all over, and an apology has been issued. Perhaps the deputy president did not issue the apology at a particular time, but the apology has been issued. Let us move on from this and forge a way forward. And I would call upon the NCIC to ensure that every politician or every leader in Kenya, despite their political affiliations or their inclinations, that they are prosecuted if they incite Kenyans, or if they utter words that would be purported to be inciting Kenyans towards maybe going back to the unfortunate events of 2007-2008, because that is a dark time that we do not want to go to. I was young at the time. I didn't get much of it because I was still in school. But that is a point we don't want to go to. And we should not look at where are you on, which side are you on? Are you pro-government? Are you pro-UDA? Are you pro-this party? Are you pro-this? Let us agree that this is wrong. We have to agree. And I believe, you know, my counterparts have said that we are learned. We are learned. Let us agree. That is why we go to school, Trevor. We are civilized. We won't call ourselves civilized. Then you can't say, if this person says this, it's wrong. But if this other person says the exact same thing, oh, it's okay. You know, we are going to overlook it. Let the NCAC be impartial. Anybody who says anything that is inciting should be prosecuted. And as regards Kirinyaga Youth Alliance, my brother, forming youth alliances does not mean that we are not active in parties. I am a member of UDA. I am an active member of UDA. I am part of the process and also a member of the Young Lawyers Brigade. Alliances are there to ensure that young people are able to negotiate with politicians, because we believe, we have seen that politics is murky for young people. It's very murky. We don't have the financial muscle that we can flex. So what can we flex? Numbers. And how do you flex numbers? I can't flex numbers by myself. Then you form alliances so that you're able to flex the numbers and to demand for what you want and to ensure that we align with leaders who have a vision for the young people. And yes, the deputy president does have a vision. And why do we keep saying that we need youth in government? Somebody who is closer to the age of a youth is able to relate to them. It's all about communication, delivery, relating. And that is something that is even has been discussed. And at the end of the day, it's not just about his age. It is that he is able to relate and to be able to formulate policies that are going to work for the young people of this nation and ensure that what the young people need is what they get.
Okay, Angel. So many things have been talked about. The promises the politicians are making, whether youth should belong to a party or form their own associations and alliances.
I think this country is very interesting. We keep making one step forward, two steps backward. I mean, conversations here and there about NCIC and the rest. Actually, one thing that I find quite interesting is when I see UDA potential candidates for governor telling their electorates that they will give them a ward fund. And that is the same thing they hit down when we were talking about BBI. Yeah. So, I mean, it's just 2 steps forward, three steps backward. I mean, it's just back and forth. But I think young people should be looking looking at the 4 factors of production. I mean, when you talk about land and capital, those are the 2 things that the youth do not have. So when we see legislations and policies that are talking about enhancing affirmative action funds that will be able to access land and will be able to access loans to be able to have our capital, those are the things that we should be talking about, because we are all looking towards being independent. And Kenyans are known to be resilient. They are not beggars, regardless of where they come from. They want to stand on their own 2 feet, and that is what we want as young people, because we say after 25 you are not broke anymore, you are poor. And so those are the things we don't want. That's the energy that young people are having. And it's good to see that we know where these things are coming from and where they want to where they should come from, and even legislating them. When you talk about the amount of money that goes to the county levels to be developed for the counties, those are significant amounts of money that we need to be particularly interested in controlling. We need to have public participation. When we go for budget readings, when budget readings are being made, we should be present, because that is when we allocate this amount to education, this amount to investment, this amount to this and that is development. We need to participate. We need to be part of the campaign secretariats. I mean, I love Mheshimiwa Rene's energy here, who is in the Raila Odinga campaign secretariat and running all these activities, and yourself, Newton, as well. I mean, young people need to take sides. You need to take side A or side B, because the hottest place in hell is for that place of those who keep quiet. Yes. Back to you, Trevor.
Back to you. Back to studio. Let's see what you're saying on your feedback. Now, there's a lot coming through. I'll try squeezing as many of them as I can, and then we take on the closing remarks from my panelists here. Let's see, bring them up. See what's coming up here. Bob Otieno Wino says, are youth in studio waiting for presidency of their party leaders first in order to vie for the top seat? Why can't they challenge them now? The narrative of youth are the leaders of tomorrow is how easily they are locked out. Okay, let's get a quick response on that one quickly first. Are youth in studio waiting for presidency of their party leaders first in order to vie for the top seat? Why can't they just challenge them now? Newton, very quick. Just one line response to Bob. Are you simply waiting for presidency of your party leaders first in order to vie for the top seat? Why can't they challenge them now? The narrative of youth are the leaders of tomorrow. is how easily they are locked out.
You know, Trevor, I think from Bobo Wino's perspective, he sees as if where I am as Newton, I am not planning myself. You know, if you don't plan, if you don't plan well, you're planning to fail.
Yeah.
And for where I sit,
Yeah.
I am not ready at the moment.
Okay.
But I am planning to
be
when
ready.
the time comes.
Okay. Irene, quick reaction to Bob.
I mean, political parties have structures. There's a party leader, there's a member, there's a life member. I'm currently a life member, obviously working myself upwards. But it doesn't mean that I'm locking myself out and being a leader for tomorrow. I mean, I vied for Miss President, so it clearly shows that I have ambitions.
Yeah.
Not just right now. Right now, my work is to ensure that I have my presidential candidate becoming president.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that as a young person, I don't want to be president
Okay.
in the
So-
very near future.
Yeah.
Very near.
So you're sticking to the process.
Yes.
Okay. Angel.
There are lots of ways of politics. You have the back door and the front door. So I'm at the back door right now. So
But you are coming to the front.
we are coming to the front.
Okay. Jerry?
I think I can say that I am at the forefront, and that is why I'm vying for the position of women representing Kirinyaga County. And so for me, Trevor, is just about going up.
Okay.
You know, I vied for speaker the last general election, and now I'm vying for women rep. And the next time, perhaps I'll be vying for governor, and then perhaps president. You never know. So for me, ambition is there.
Yeah.
So it is not a question of lack of ambition. It is a question of resources, and also perhaps planning yourself. Because at the end of the day, we've seen the hurdles that youth face in politics. And we can't say you can never run a campaign without finances.
Okay. Garrett, let's bring up the rest of the views that's coming through on social media. Shadrach says, I agree with the panelists that as youth, we must get out and show what we got. Let us get involved. We should be at the forefront analyzing and advising on better ways to deal with different policy issues. Okay. Obebo says, Angel Mbudi is lucky to have that docket. Those dockets are for the few. In fact, does she know that the Kenyan Constitution 2010 does not have CAS seats? They are illegal conduits of our taxes. Secondly, some youth are just a shame in those seats. I can't name them. Okay. Angel is not a CAS, by the way, just in case you want.
Yes, I was wondering. I was like, okay.
But maybe in future you might be. So Festus says, majority of the youth do not vote since they are tired of politics. They are jobless. Their struggles continues after elections, vandalized by the high cost of living, and always wake up every day to put food on the table. This life, no balance. Oh, okay. G-Boy says youth are tired of their own youth leaders because once they are elected, they forget about them. Jagwa, if name mentions Babu Owino and Muhammad Ali, they can't even set a bill in itafaidi vijana. Okay. Okelo Mwalimu says the problems faced by the youth cannot be solved by voting in a few sycophantic youths. We need equal opportunities in employment, strong policies around development of talents, funds for establishment of businesses, and eradication of illicit brews and hard drugs. Okay. Sam Masika says youth are limited because the elders are stuck up there and not willing to mentor them. It is a waste of time hoping One Kenya Alliance will rise and compete with the two. Let major parties incorporate the youth in running their affairs. Okay. Ali says youth out here are corrupt-minded. Even if they seek for elective positions, it is not for the sake of the country, but as an easy way of living large. Okay. Engineer Lazaro says youth shouldn't be cheated. That politics is a dirty game that should only be dominated by their ancestors. No, politics determines almost everything from your education and how your future will look like. Uko Robert says promises by both PM Raila and DP Ruto are very possible to achieve. What we have to evaluate is the commitment based on the past records. All right, let me take closing remarks from my panelists, and I'll start with you, Njeri. Closing remarks. What do you want the young people to hear from you this morning?
I want the young people to go out and register as voters, because the only way we can impact or change the narrative in this country is by registering and ensuring that come the election date, we will go out and vote for the candidates of our choice. Do not allow anyone to bully you. Do not allow anyone to tell you who to vote. Make that decision as an independent person, and support youthful leaders, and also ensure that you shun politics of violence, and politics of personal attacks. Because the age at which we are in right now, that is not what we need. We need people who will bring in policies that ensure that the interests of the young people are catered for and that they are well represented.
Okay. Angel?
Yes, I'm tired of politics. How? I have only voted once since I was born. Now I'll be voting for the second time in 2022, so I cannot claim that I am tired of politics. And one thing that, one place I draw my inspiration from is from our freedom fighters who fought for this country, and they were young people. They were not looking forward to big positions after independence, but they just wanted us to have they wanted to have a generation of people like me and you to be able to just sit and have discussions in peace. But then one thing I'd like to tell you is that msikubali kupangwa. We have the National Youth Council elections coming up. That is the one place that you can build your ground on building your leadership capacity. And politics, everything rises and falls on leadership. So let us not ignore politics. It is our heart and soul.
Jerry was very happy when you said you usikubali kupangwa because that's what her party leader says all the time. So maybe she's hoping you cross over to the other side.
Perhaps she is. You know, she's near me. Talk to her.
Irene, your closing remarks.
Trevor, I'd just like to say that young people should remember that participation in politics is a fundamental right enshrined in our constitution. I like people like Osiro, who's come up with the Kabila la Vijana movement, and I would really love to meet him and just to get to understand what it is that they are talking about. We should be participating in politics, both actively by running like Wakili, and I wish her the absolute best. We should participate in terms of just portraying what our interests are and pushing for it. And just a shout out to all the young people out there who are actively participating in politics. And you know, the Kenya in me, I have to say salamu mingi sana to the daughters of Raila, the people of Nyamira, and everybody else in this country who is just fighting for a space as a young person. What I would like to advise you is choose your candidate, choose your presidential candidate based on the practicability of the promises that they are giving you. And as a young person, remember, you will rarely have a seat at the table. Yeah. But as I always say, if you don't give me a seat at the table, I will bring a folding chair and become the table. Okay. And that is my advice to fellow young people.
All right, Newton?
First of all, I just want to thank you, Trevor, for having us here. But again, my take home is, or to the people of Kenya, is that one, let us look for bold leadership. Leadership that is led by innovation, not just mere leadership of rhetoric. Because we are in a 21st century, and being in a 21st century, we need to solve these challenges in a more innovative manner than the way things have been solved before. So I ask on Kenyans not to be subjected to these two-horse race manenos.
I had a feeling it was going to come up again.
and focus on electing a leader who is sober, who is practical, who is in touch with the reality, and who is accommodating young people. Let us not fix our minds to, I don't know, we have many options. We have 47 million Kenyans, and any one of them can become the president. So we have 47 million options to go for. Then the last one, young people. IBC has opened up an opportunity for you again. Please, take the time, go register as a voter, be ready to vote, and participate in politics. All through, because politics is the determinant of a country. Without it, we will lose. And at the 70% members club, I advise you guys, let us meet on the ballot as we vote for real leadership, not rhetorics.
All right, guys, thank you so much for making time this morning. Angel Mbuthia, Chairperson, COMESA Youth Advisory Panel, Newton Hamasi, Democratic Party Spokesperson, Irene Mayaka, Special-Elect MCA Nyamira, and Jerry Maina, Lawyer and Co-Founder KIA, which is Kirinyaga Youth Alliance. Thank you so much for making time this morning, and thank you for all the feedback that you sent through. We're taking a quick break here. When we come back, it's Roy T-Boy on the decks. It's Level Up. Fred Osiro, you tweeted us, said that there's Kabila la Vijana and you're not getting an opportunity. Drop me a DM. This is an open platform for young people to talk about matters, politics, and everything in between. You don't need anything. Or every Friday, that's what we do here at the Citizen TV and the Royal Media Services. We give you a chance to speak. Drop us a DM and we'll schedule you into one of these conversations, all right? Brill. Now we take that break. See you in a bit.